My husband passed away recently, and my mother-in-law brought home her secret love child, saying, Rancho, finally, someone to inherit the family business. My husband, James Lincoln, disappeared in an accident, and my in-laws wasted no time filing to have him legally declared deceased. At the funeral, a woman, Zena Xander, suddenly showed up with a young boy, both crying hysterically. The boy, Charlie Lincoln, screamed at the top of his lungs, calling my husband Montroy daddy. My 10-year-old daughter, Tig S. Lincoln, charged at him, shouting, Ampior, shut up. That Dick's my dad. Pretending to break it up, my in-laws instead shoved Tadish to the ground. She collapsed and passed out on the spot. Shial, if you're looking for someone to blame yourself for not giving us a grandson. This family can die out without an heir. Zena smirked at me with blatant provocation. Behind her, Charlie spat in my direction and sneered. Buber, just a worthless tramp nobody cares about. I didn't lose my temper. Instead, I laughed. You want the status and the inheritance so badly, you can have them. But don't come crying to me when you regret it. 2 weeks later, Zena showed up at my doorstep, covered in blood, banging on the door and screaming. And then I got a phone call that felt like a nightmare come to life, but I couldn't have cared less. By then, I was already enjoying a peaceful vacation overseas. You just left us. How are my son and I supposed to survive? Zena clung to James' coffin, sobbing uncontrollably, her eyes red and swollen. Beside her, Charlie, a boy around 7 or 8 years old, wailed just as loudly, crying out, Emsure daddy? Relatives, co-workers, and other onlookers exchanged knowing glances, some barely suppressing smirks at the dramatic scene unfolding before them. Before I could say anything, Tazich shoved Charlie away. Merchtule ket lost. That call him that. Don't call him that. Charlie scrambled to his feet and glared at her. Who do you think you are? I'm his only son. Then, without warning, he pounced on her, scratching her face until it turned red. When I saw this, fury boiled inside me. I moved to step in, but my mother-in-law, Sally Lincoln, pulled me back and hurried toward the children. She hurriedly separated the 2 children, her face full of concern as she immediately checked Charlie for any injuries. Hestest, refusing to back down, cried out desperately for James. Sally's expression turned cold and vicious as she glared at Tessage. With a sharp slap, she knocked her to the ground. Your father died because of you? Tench eyes reddened with anger. She lunged forward and bit Sally's hand hard. Get off me, you little brat. Seeing Sally bitten, Charlie rushed over and kicked Isaides in the stomach. Ashes let out a piercing scream and collapsed to the floor, lying limp and motionless. It all happened so fast, by the time I reacted, I was already cradling Tadish in my arms. But Charlie wasn't done. He glared at me, punching and kicking. Wanchariel, you are the bad woman who stole my dad from my mom. You shameless tramp. Shuk recoursed through me. I looked up and saw Zena grinning smugly through the crowd. Pain shot through me as Charlie's kicks landed. I raised my hand to stop him, but before I could, Zena charged at me, shoving me down as she shielded the boy. Hothia, blame me all you want, but don't it hit the child. Both your child hit mine first. I shot back. Sally approached, her tone dripping with mockery. Newt, why make such a fuss over kids fighting? Can't you let it go? Did you have to make a scene and embarrass everyone? When he married you, I was against it from the start. You brought nothing good to his life when he was alive, and now you won't even let him rest in peace, you wicked woman. When James married me, he had nothing to his name afterward. His entire family moved into the house my parents had bought for me, shamelessly taking over. I treated them kindly for the sake of family harmony, but now here they were accusing me at the funeral. The only one who seemed reasonable was my father-in-law, Stephen Lincoln, who scolded Sally lightly before helping me and Tazich to our feet. I barely had time to thank him before he gave me a kind smile and said, Ensure, I've seen everything you've done for this family over the years. Now it's time for you to show one last act of devotion to James. A sense of unease washed over me. I pulled my hand back and cautiously asked, Morn, what do you mean? He produced a pen and a piece of paper, holding them out to me. Ma produced a pen and a piece of paper, holding them out to me. Must be James only has one son, Charlie.